Okay, thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Let me greet SG, NEC deployees, our leadership in the province led by Comrade Zamani. I see the president of the Youth League is also here with us here. I just want to welcome all of you to the session here today. We've come to the end of our 10th Provincial Conference, and I believe that all of you know that our task now is just to give an update of where we are now. I want to welcome everyone who is here present and all of those media houses who have joined virtually. And I am going now to give over to our Provincial Secretary to just continue and give the chair and everyone. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Comrade Dini. I'm sure all of you know that we had a nice build-up to the 10th Provincial Conference of the ANC. The 9th Provincial Conference took place in Namakwa. This one actually exceeded expectations, and it was very calm. The focus was not on leadership. I'm sure you've seen that we were preoccupied with policy proposals that branches made and clear resolutions that we adopted. But we have the national leadership in our midst, led by the Office of the Secretary General. The Secretary General himself is here, but we are led in the province by our provincial chair. Without much ado, let me hand over to the provincial chair to take us through.
Are we going to speak like this? Oh, no, thank you very much. And let me start by appreciating the presence of leadership from the National Executive Committee, led by the Secretary General. When we started the provincial conference, we had the Treasurer General of the ANC in the province, Comrade Gwen Ramahopa. She actually gave the keynote address, and she was leading the NEC deployees together with Comrade Lindy, who's the NEC convener to the province. I must start by thanking the national leadership for their support in order to enable us to have a very successful provincial conference of the ANC in the Northern Cape. Post the 2024 general elections, this is the first provincial conference to be hosted by the ANC in the country, and we firmly believe, as the SG have already highlighted, that we are actually setting the tone on how we should approach the issues of conferences, and particularly how to manage the internal contradictions in the movement around issues of leadership. So we've got the leadership, and Comrade SG, we are going to write you a letter of appreciation of the role that the NEC deployees played. I don't think we could have been able to host this conference full complying with the constitution of the ANC without their support. They never slept last night. Last night it was voting for additional members. They finished, the voting finished at 11 o'clock and counting started. They left this morning at 6. And we agreed that the conference will start at 9 today. They were the first to arrive here. So we are very appreciative and very grateful for the work that they have done to render this conference successful. And as well, we are very grateful to the presence of the president of the Youth League, Comrade Colin. He just was an ice on the top of the cake, a cherry on top. Yeah. We did not program. He phoned and he said, I'm told you guys are busy with the conference. And my constituency is the biggest portion of your population there in the Northern Cape. 60% of our population here in the province is young people. And he said, I'm coming. I thought you were joking. And I got shocked when I saw him attending the conference. And he got an opportunity today to appeal to the young people who were part and parcel of the conference, and also to appeal to the ANC that we need to roll out programs that will enable us to address one of the major challenges that we are confronted with as a country and the province, the high levels of unemployment amongst young people. Comrade Colin, we are very appreciative of your presence. The time that you took, I don't think, as the president of the young people in the country, it's easy for you just to change your schedule and make it a point that you are here. So we are very grateful that you've made time to be here. But also, To the media, we've got our SG. It's coming out of difficult discussion with opposition parties and who are part and parcel of the government of national unity. Said he's been locked in these discussions for the past 2 weeks. That's the reason he's got a complexion. You can see he's lighter because he was in the boardroom for the whole 2 weeks trying to sort out the issue of 0.5% increase in VAT. And I'm certain he will be able to relate aspects of those discussions and the final decision which was taken to put in abeyance the increase of 0.5% in VAT. But all in all, we had a very successful conference, and our delegates, branch leaders, regional leaders, they left here pumped up. And the Secretary General managed to close the conference on a very high note. So with those few words, thank you very much as well for coming to the Northern Cape. I see we've got a whole lot of media houses here in the province, which is unlike the Northern Cape. I saw Newsroom Africa here, and they've been here for the past 3 days. And Newsroom Africa has got a very thin footprint in the province, but for the past 3 days, they had some kind of a live coverage of our conference, and we really appreciate that. SABC is also here and other media houses. We highly appreciate your presence. We are just a small province on the periphery, on the outskirts of South Africa. We love attention. We love attention because we never get attention. So thank you very much for being here, and we highly appreciate the fact that you took out of your time 3 days just to come and have a coverage of what is happening in the Northern Cape. That we highly appreciate. SG, you can conclude now.
Thank you very much to the Provincial Chairperson, Comrade Zamani. I want to congratulate the newly elected leadership, the Provincial Chairperson, and the Provincial Secretary, Comrade Deshin Langa, and all members of the top 5 officials elected, and the entire PC, which looks young and energetic, which spells good things for the African National Congress. Going forward in the Northern Cape, we've got a future here in the province. And I want to also thank Comrade Lindin Chalijali, the head of the deployees. We have deployed among NEC members some of the most experienced comrades in the organization. Lindin Chalijali was the secretary in the Youth League, and then also through the ranks and became a secretary in the ANC and played a key role. So she's well experienced in matters of conference and organizational matters. And we have others, Zizi Kodwa, Phoebe, Mahambe Hlala, Dakota Lekwete, Aaron Mutswaledi, David Masondo. So we have given you, Comrade Zamani, Kusela, we have given you the best we have at national. It means we take this province seriously. So we're very happy about the report we're getting. Their conduct has been proper, and under the leadership of Comrade Lindy, in guiding the province to deliver this successful conference. Your conference, the 10th conference of the Northern Cape, will go down the annals of history as a conference that enhanced our forward march of the renewal of the ANC. When we break from the bad experiences of how ANC conference get to be conducted, don't finish the business, they just deal with one item of elections. Northern Cape produced a leadership for this conference, produced the resolutions for this conference to support the provincial government in terms of its work, but over and above what must happen in the municipalities. reflected on the political overview delivered by the chairperson, organizational report delivered by the secretary, and the financial report went to commissions. As I arrived, the last commission was reporting to plenary. Delegates stayed in the conference throughout. Nobody left because they were angry or felt emotionally, dealt with in terms of the election results. Elections done and dusted, everybody happy. And knowing very well that they came to a conference of the ANC. That's how the ANC, we know, conduct its business. And Northern Cape is leading from the front in that regard. As the movement, we're very proud of this moment. And we believe that as we move forward, intensifying our renewal work in the organization, even in other provinces, this will give us this sort of result. As I conclude, the delegates in this conference seem to appreciate the moment we are in, that we are a 40% party, that has suffered a setback, and that must fight back to win in all spheres, and also decisively so. And I wish to highlight to you that here in the Northern Cape, the fight back is on in terms of undoing the setback. We have won a lot of municipalities, even from the wards that were controlled by the opposition. This leadership here in this province is focused, and we want to wish Zamani, great success as he enters his third term, and I hope it's the last third term for Zamani. Zamani has served in this province for the longest of time, from the ranks of the organization, and led our movement with the decency and decorum over the years, and may the next 3 years or 4 years being here in this province, serving the people of the Northern Cape and our movement, the African National Congress, also, to become a great success story. Multiply to the work already started in this province. So we are very much excited coming to a province where comrades really do appreciate the moment that we don't have time for bickering. We don't have time for small things that can be resolved. I know you guys have been interested on the shooting. Look, the shooting and many other things of that sort, we are resolving them. They are not the key issues, as much as they are situations of concern, but they are not insurmountable. The fundamental question that confront us is how we deepen social transformation, how we make things happen for our people. I spent a lot of time this afternoon talking about local government, how we change the situation and inspire hope to our people. I spoke about the moment of us participating in coalition governments. We are humbled by the fact that we are in these coalition governments by the choice of the voter. And we have embraced that moment fully. And as we engage with people at national and everywhere else, we understand where we are. So we are going to deepen organizational renewal, foundational courses, as it has started. Northern Cape has been one of our leading provinces when it comes to political education. And when we now implement foundational course, we know now that we are done with conference, it will be amplified in a big way. We've got trust and confidence as leadership in the collective led by Comrade Zamani. And to all our comrades, keep up the good work and then continue to conduct yourselves in ways that enhance the stature and the integrity of our organization. Because through your actions, we either stand or fall. And appreciating the moment means that we've got to understand that even our conduct wherever we are deployed, even not deployed, is imperative in enhancing the good stature of the African National Congress. So we say, long live Northern Cape, long live Noord-Kaap, Krag and die mense. Baie dankie.
Thank you very much, SG,
Yeah.
Chair, and PS. You have set the tone. And what we are going to do now is we are going to allow all media houses that have joined in, those who want to ask questions and those who have joined us virtually. Can we have an indication or show of hand? Those that would like to. I see News 24. Newsroom Africa. Yeah, Sam Gelo's hand is also up. Anyone on our virtual? No, in the absence of none, then you can show. Thank you.
Junior Kumalo from Newsroom Africa. The first question is, you spoke about the Northern Cape basically being an example for the other provinces, I guess also the national conference that is coming up. Is it in terms of the conduct of how they carry themselves, or do you want to see a situation where in most of the provinces there's not a lot of contestation, but there is an agreement on the top officials that are going to be elected? And on the second one, you also spoke about having to, members of the ANC having to have a sense of appreciation of where the ANC finds itself in. You also tweeted a lot about this as well. I just wanted to find out if maybe this is with regards to the conduct of some of the leaders. We did see the Deputy President going into the Greater Johannesburg region. There were some individuals there that had placards saying that basically they would want to see him being elected as the next president of the ANC. Was it around that? And just on the issue of the scrapping of the proposed increase to VAT, that's a situation that has angered a lot of South Africans. The fact that the ANC had proposed this, because a lot of people are finding themselves in financial distress. I just wanted to get your sense on how this matter has been handled. The finance minister is an ANC deployee, but it seems like now he is being thrown under the bus. There are people that are calling for him to step aside. What are your thoughts around how the whole matter of the proposed VAT increase was handled by the ANC as well as the finance minister? Thank you.
Let me start with the last question about this matter has been handled in a period of uncharted waters. Normally, we don't discuss the budget. Treasury comes and presents the budget to the executive and it proceeds to Parliament. So what happened here is that when that happened and the question of VAT being raised, it really raised a lot of reaction within the ANC and even from outside, even within our alliance. You will know that COSATU was very vocal about being opposed to VAT, and other civil society movements, trade unions, even beyond COSATU, raised the issue about VAT. And then you will know that even the budget, for the first time, was postponed. It has never happened. It shocked people. It shocked the markets, but we remained stable. And we're still standing even today. Even at that moment when it happened, we said that 2% VAT increase, because it was informed by the fact that our spending is high, but at the same time, it's not equal to the revenue base that we have in terms of the fiscus, and therefore there was an importance that we intervene, and that we have exhausted our borrowing capacity. And in this particular instance, with no interest to continue to borrow, there was a need to say, where do we get the financial resources to sustain a budget which is not austerity budget, but at the same time, a budget which is about growth, but a budget also that is pro-poor. So where do we find the financial resources to do this work? And then that was an option. 2%, it went to 0.2%, and all of 0.5%. And still, the question was that are there no other source of revenue as the 30-day period where parties were invited to make submissions. So this process have been protracted, and it showed that it is the first budget of the GNU, and then probably we could have done things differently, unlike the normal way we do things and all of that. That the process of discussion and engagement would have been necessary and important, but the minister did engage. And then others came with proposals that we agree with 2.2%, you can increase, but on these conditions. The debates became, no, but the issues you are raising do not belong to the budget. Because others wanted to bargain very hard on issues that they've lost. For instance, NHI, and then Bella Act, and that concessions, for ports, but at the same time, devolution of powers, issues of expenditure review, and all of that. We said that, no, but those issues don't belong to the budget. How do we cross in terms of presenting a budget that is pro-growth and at the same time that is pro-poor, but the budget also that does not compromise on the social spending. A budget that does not sustain austerity, cut on everything. We said that as the ANC, that's what we actually prefer. We said, no, that can be implemented, but temporarily over time, it will fade away. There were debates about this and that can happen, and all of that. The budget was postponed. And then when it came back, it came with 0.5%. And then we had to go to the budget framework. And then in the finance committee and all of that, it became clear there that political parties were clear that we will support but review VAT. And then we said, use the 30 days, let's look at alternative means of revenue. It didn't have to go to the court. It didn't. We settled this thing out of court. We didn't have to go to court. And then others, because they then went the legal route immediately when they were defeated in terms of the budget framework being passed. They then went the legal route, and then all other political parties, as much as they did participate in the process of the budget framework passing, but they were very clear that they will want VAT to be reviewed, and they will work very hard to support Treasury for the sake of the country to get alternative means of revenue. That's what we've been engaged in talks, in negotiations. The ANC then moved from 0.5% to support political parties and say that we agree. And then the answer came. What is the answer? Revenue collection will actually address the shortfall and will also work on other means to basically close the shortfall. So that is doable. And so we reset the button in terms of the budget as we speak, in terms of parliament. The minister communicating with the legislature, the National Assembly, we are resetting the budget, the button. We are also going to discuss what will go into the budget in terms of resetting the budget. That happened because we are all about national interest. Now, you must understand that this, if the ANC was destructive, and we've been labeled because of trust deficit, that we're just playing games with political parties. We have no intention of doing things differently. And yet we said, actions speak louder than words. And now we see that in the bubble, everybody claims victory and all of that. Nothing wrong with that. ANC has got a bigger responsibility to this country than just claiming easy victories. What is our responsibility? South Africa must succeed. South Africa, in the government of national unity and even beyond, must succeed. It must even become a better economy in Africa. And so in this particular instance, that is our interest. And we have always said that when we embark on the path of GNU, that ours is about safeguarding national interest with our 40% and not to be destructive in the process. So that's where we are with regard to the matter of the budget, and the VAT increase has been cut off, agreed with all political parties, and we made a common statement, particularly those who agreed to pass the budget framework, and we are very much elated by Treasury's response to the submissions that have been made, even submissions that came from the ANC. Now, you must understand that we have a minister, but we don't run Treasury. The minister, yes, belongs to the executive, and there are processes that were followed. Once the budget was postponed, the deputy president, together with the minister of finance, were mandated by cabinet and the president to engage with political parties. That was done. About 5 points were eliminated, but there was a shift of goalpost when we came to the budget framework. So there will always be a temptation on the part of other political parties in the GNU to basically play politics, even when we're confronted with the reality of national interest, and break away from the collective. When we say we're not supposed to, if we approach things differently, could it have produced different results? We will say yes. Uncharted waters, we will become better next time, so that we don't get delayed with processes like this going forward. But it was necessary. And because throughout this process, we have seen stability, we have seen cohesion, largely among political parties, and we have built some level of trust among political parties to understand that when we confront a matter that is about South Africa, that affect the country, we can move together in one direction. The same as we've got to move together in one direction to defend South Africa's interest in trade issues like, United States, South Africa relations. It's important that we move together in that regard. Now, we will settle the matters of the budget on that note. So, when it comes to the two issues that you raised,
The Deputy President visiting the Greater Johannesburg region.
yeah, no, look, Deputy President visited Greater Johannesburg. Those matters, as the Secretary General's office, will attend to them. We have seen T-shirts flying around. ANC will be run in a proper way, and that is why we celebrate Northern Cape. Members of the ANC must understand that the moment we are in pose an existential threat to the African National Congress. So this thing of doing one and the same thing, T-shirts there, T-shirt there, and all of that, our regional structures must intervene. If they don't intervene, it means they are not appreciating what is happening. Our provincial structures were there in that meeting to support the Deputy President. When people were distributing wrong T-shirts in an ANC activity, which was a political activity, what did they do about it? So there's a whole lot of things that they've got to do. And we will act decisively on such behavior. Issues of leadership will be discussed in the organization. We have agreed as the NEC on that. And there's no threat to our Deputy President, including him going forward contesting to become president, which it is possible anyway because he's a deputy. So when you become a deputy, you already prepare yourself for the next stage. So when that period comes, we will discuss this properly in the organization. And we have agreed on that particular process. We have said to our members, let's work very hard to get from the setback. And that's what is important. So we are fine. And we believe that we will work very hard with the Deputy President to ensure that all of these things that seek to distract the ANC from its core business at the present moment do not recur and continue just like that. We will not shy away from acting and dealing with those particular issues that were rearing in terms of the important meeting that the Deputy President actually addressed. So we have already sent a notice to Gauteng province around that activity. so that we deal with these particular matters decisively. And first and foremost, it's not about just chasing people. It's about educating people as well, that your activities are harming the organization. They don't bring any good to the image of the ANC. They simply project the ANC as an organization that is at war with itself. We shouldn't, because the opportunity to ventilate on matters of leadership will come. Now, renewal requires on each member of the ANC to take responsibility. And we know that the culprits who are promoting such activities are catching innocent members, some who don't even have membership of the ANC, and they give them these t-shirts to wear to activities and all of that. They don't come out because they know their faces, if they are found, they will be taken to task. But members of the organization must be educated not to go astray and to be misused in the process. And we work very hard with regard to that. And that is why structures must take responsibility. If there is an event in Bembe, there is an event in Butsabelo, there is an event. There is a structure that called that event. What did the structure do to preserve the values of the ANC in terms of the event of that significance, talking about the fallen heroes in Mufulira, educating a whole generation about these comrades and their dedication to the struggle? What did our regional executive committee and the provincial structures do when they saw a behavior like that? Was that activity condemned? Was it dealt with? We will need a full account on that. And that is what is important. And the last one? The tone of the conference was loud in terms of behavior. I've said it. Let me repeat it again. It's music. The conference elected leadership, discussed, went into commission, debated issues, and then there was no infighting and all of that. Let me answer the principled question. It doesn't mean you cannot contest. You can contest, but at the same time, it must be surrounded by decency and decorum and informed by it doesn't mean that somebody couldn't have come from the floor and say, I contest Zamani. I want to become the chair, and he get defeated. You know Eric Wala, the old man, first time the ANC held a conference in the country, were in Durban, Westville. And then Eric Wala was raised from the floor to contest Walter Sisulu. And then he went to the mic, and then he accepted nomination. I mean, the whole conference went quiet. He said, hey, man, how can you contest Walter Sisulu? But later on, Umtomdala explained. He said, we're coming from exile underground. We have never been exposed to how democratic organizations like ours operate. Because most of the time, leadership was appointed and all of that and so on. So I was standing not because I meant it, that I wanted to contest Comrade Walter, but I was doing it to educate that there's nothing wrong in the ANC. It's not taboo, in fact, to contest in a conference. Can be done, and he was defeated. He only voted for himself in that plenary. Nobody else supported him. And the person who nominated him, they were the two of them. And then nobody supported them in that plenary. Walter Sisulu was elected unopposed. That tells you where we come from with this organization. From the period of before the ANC was banned, this organization was democratic. I mean, if you look at the history of Kuma and all of that, what happened? It was smoothless, but contested. And then you come now, post-unbanning. And post-unbanning, things ran smooth up until they deteriorated. And Khalima Mutlante talks about these things. In 1996 report of the Secretary General, when he talked about a mortgaged African National Congress and new tendencies that visited the movement. And we are still undoing those tendencies, even now. And that is why the renewal program, as a program that seek to respond to these challenges we're facing as an organization. Northern Cape, has done us good in relation to projecting, of course, the renewal project of the ANC. Coming to a conference of the ANC, and it's what? It's Friday today. It's Thursday, and it's over, record. And comrades are going home, and leadership elected, declaration, resolutions done. So this is brilliant. It doesn't mean that there were no challenges, but they were there. But it means the goodwill and the good work that has been done by structures themselves and this leadership has appreciated that we needed to do things right to preserve the reputation that is battered of our movement. So when people look at home and say, Northern Cape, ANC, they met. What about? They then hear Northern Cape is about social transformation. Zamani and his collective and their conference, they say, we're looking at the budget, but we are prioritizing the employment of teachers in our province. This is what people want to hear from the African National Congress. Not fights. Who became a victor in a conference? Our people are tired of those things. And we think that is good image enhancement. No. If you want to divide the ANC, you want to defocus it, talk about succession debate or leadership, we will be there on it, just like that. And we're not going to allow it.
Thank you very much, SABC. I saw that you saw the smile in your face. Yeah, no, there are two hands on the virtual platform. Can you just speak? Indicate which media house you're coming from. Over to you.
Hello.
My question goes to SG and the Deputy Manila. I would like to understand how ANC has received the visit of the Ukraine president. And then the second question goes to Mr. Zamani. What is seen in Northern Cape, the political stability that is happening in Northern Cape, is it a yardstick that maybe you will tell us that ANC how it will perform in the 2026 local government?
Okay, thank you very much. Can we take the other two questions? I mean, the last hand.
Yeah. Yes,
You can shoot, Ra. Yeah, SG, I think you can come in.
We welcome the president's efforts to contribute to peace between Russia and Ukraine. And by hosting President Zelensky, we understood quite perfectly that is one such big effort on the part of South Africa, led by Matamela Ramaphosa, our president. It didn't start today. President took a train, I think from Poland to Kiev for 10 hours, and then from there to Russia. Not alone, but working with other African leaders. So President Ramaphosa, in terms of intervening, there has not been working. South Africa has not been working alone. It's working with others. And that is why today he briefed President Trump about the efforts. Whereas others were saying South Africa is risking its already volatile, relations with America by hosting Zelensky. They misunderstand shuttle diplomacy. So that's what we're doing. And we're using our position as South Africa to contribute to efforts of peace in the world, in particular between Israel and Russia. President also spoke to President Putin about this initiative. we have seen that they all say we want to talk around the table, and we need to nudge everyone to come closer to bring an end to that situation of Ukraine-Russian war. So we perfectly understand shuttle diplomacy. We perfectly understand the efforts of South Africa led by our president to bring about peace. And we welcome President Zelensky for responding to those efforts in earnest and by taking time to come to South Africa and engage with our president. May that engagement multiply to the realization of faster peace process between Russia and Ukraine. Thank you very much.
Thank you, SG. Can you come in, Jay?
No, thank you very much. The question relates about unity within the ranks of the African National Congress in the Northern Cape. This was our 10th provincial conference, and as I'm very fortunate, I've attended the first conference here in the province, 1992, when Comrade Mani was elected as the provincial chairperson in Rekaufel. Then I attended as a leader of COSAS. This is the 10th conference. I've never missed a single one of these different conferences, which means I can speak with authority here without any fear of contradiction, that what was displayed inside is unparalleled levels of unity within our province. And it's not unity for its own sake. It's unity to address some of the issues which the SG have raised. When he was addressing plenary, the SG pleaded with all delegates that we must appreciate the moment. During this moment, the ANC is confronted with an existential crisis. Existential crisis actually means that we're in an ICU. And if we don't turn things around, we'll speak about the ANC in history. So that's the reason why you've got such high levels of unity, high intensity of unity. Because we know if we want to turn things around, we need a vibrant, dynamic, and a strong African National Congress. So that unity was in display inside the conference right from the first day up until the last day. Our delegates left here pumped up, prepared to go out to their different wards and branches to defend the African National Congress. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Chair. Yes, I am now going to give over to you.
And we are starving.
No,
Yeah.
thank you very much.
Who's there? Had I asked them to come in?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a question. I wanted PS to respond to it as he will be wrapping up also.
Yeah.
And then we thank everyone for attending the session. Yes. The question is like this. We are going towards local government elections. This is from Tabang, Mishwabone of Riverside Radio Napinten. Given the ongoing challenges in service delivery across various communities in the Northern Cape, what measures is that ANC going to be implementing to enhance the efficiency and effectiveness of services? Was the conference able to suggest new metrics and methods to assess success?
No, thank you very much. The point of departure, even as recent as last night, I was busy drafting a report of the conference, Lalo, to prepare for our next PEC meeting, but also a letter that will direct to the Office of the Secretary General. Remember, we have new members who are serving on the PEC, and you don't want to move from a point that suggests that all of us understand the ANC quality. What we need to do is to get an induction of the PEC. So we'll be extending that invitation to the Office of the Secretary General, submitting a report about the conference, but also informing or inviting the Secretary General to come and induct the new PEC on how do we work going forward. So that letter will be directed to the Office of the Secretary General. We had different reports that were submitted to conference. The chairperson had delivered a political report on the state of the province, dealing also with the state of municipalities, highlighting key challenges that must be addressed in municipalities. Equally with the report of the organizational report, we went to town literally to explain to conference that we sit with teething challenges in municipalities. That must be addressed, including, appointment of people with adequate skills to deal with service delivery backlogs that we've highlighted. So very soon we will have a local government summit. We've already discussed this concept, but we don't want to do it the same way that we did it in the past. We want to approach it from a sub-regional perspective so that one can zoom into the problems that affect each and every sub-region. Because these problems you will see in the organizational report, most of them are unique to a particular sub-region. If you call all municipalities or the Northern Cape together, you are more generic about problems that affect municipalities. So we really want to zoom in and deal with these problems in detail per sub-region. So that would be the approach that we will take. But let me take this opportunity to express our sincere gratitude to the Secretary General. It's never easy to get him to come to the province. When he's here, we appreciate his presence here. And he really provided nice political direction. We will certainly follow up on all the issues that he highlighted. We compiled detailed report about his political input, but also our political deployees to the province, led by Comrade Lindiwe Charlie and the others. We embrace the guidance that they've given to us, but for the next year or two, we'll be together here. So we'll work closely, we'll develop rapport with them, and they will guide us through the process, because that's the role that is assigned to them. But also to our political head in the province, we appreciate you, Kuten. Thanks for the direction that you've provided to the province. Almost sometimes during difficult times, you are able to lead. You don't lead only when you are a leader, when the sun shines. You also lead when thunder strikes. And that's exactly what you've done throughout this period, and we embrace that kind of leadership. Also to the media houses who actually heeded the call when we indicated that we have a conference here. Chairperson said that sometimes we also like attention. So you've given us the attention. For that, our gratitude. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. We've come to the end of the session.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning and welcome once again to ANC NC TV. I'm Malikau, the man with the Midas touch, and welcome. Day 3 of the 10th African National Congress Northern Cape Conference, and we are here at Mita Sperper Convention Center in Kimberley, and I'm joined in the studio by Comrade Phoebe. Hi, good morning. How are you doing?
I'm very well, thank you, and good morning to all of your listeners.
Wow. Conferences were ready to go, and then NEC gave an instruction, or rather say recommendation, to say all conferences must stop and political education must happen. Why is that?
Well, amongst the decisions of National Conference was that we have to get serious about renewal, that we're in a adapt or perish moment. And one of the recommendations that were made by particularly the Veterans League is that you need to ensure that everybody from the NEC down to branch members go through a basic foundation course. We launched it last year and in October and started rolling it out throughout the country. Northern Cape was a little bit below the curve. And this is why the instruction was that take your PEC, take your regional executive committees, and 3 per branch through the foundation course so that your conference is qualitatively different. And I think that if one look at the levels of discussions here, and I'm sure it will also reflect in the resolutions, I think that bears out. What the branch delegates say in the commissions is that they also want for all of their members the foundation course. And I think that will be one of the resolutions of conference, that the PEC need to make sure that every single member of the ANC understand the basic foundations of the ANC and why they are ANC members.
You're talking about renew or perish and political education. What would exactly be the role of the political education and the importance in strengthening, particularly branches of the ANC on the ground, as far as the renewal agenda is concerned?
Yeah. The foundation course focuses on 5 modules. So the first one is the history of the ANC, because of course you need to understand how Kimberley got to be what it is and why we have a big hole, and what it meant for people. So the history of the ANC, the second module is on the country we live in. So it looks at the constitution, the issues of inequality, poverty, the program of government, and what we've done over the last 30 years. The third one is on ethics. And then we have a module on the international situation, looking at Africa, our place in the continent, as well as the global situation. And then the final one is on the role of the ANC branch and member. And what we really focus on there is to say that you understand our history, that you understand what the ANC stand for, you now understand the continent and world we live in. So how does that translate in how you build our branches? And the module of the branches look at the role of the branch in the community. How do you develop a program of action so that your branch is an activist branch? You know, if you look at the Sol Plaatje Award for the best performing ANC branch that was introduced in 2008, the first branch that won that award was the Northern Cape, from the Northern Cape. But over the last 2 years, not a single branch from the Northern Cape were part of those, even the runner-ups. And we think that that's an anomaly. And I think that one of the resolutions of the conference would be to make sure that ANC branches become activist branches. And that's really what the foundation course is about.
Now, we're talking about activist branches. What would be your ideal ANC branch in a community?
Well, the ideal ANC branch in a community, let's take the branch that won the 2024 Sol Plaatje Best Performing Branch Award. It's a branch, Award 29, I think, Collins Chabana in Limpopo. And in fact, this is the second year that they won. So part of what they do is that they have programs in the community. So they found that there was an issue of performance of the clinic. They then organize with a district health department and say that you need to do a review about this because the community is not satisfied about the clinic. Set up a clinic committee, and now things have improved. The community bears testimony to it. 3-4 years ago, they developed a branch profile, a ward profile. So how many schools do you have? What is the pass rates for the primary school, for the high school? And then to look at how do you improve, working together with the teachers, the principals, and SGBs, improve that. The ward is in a rural area, even though it's on the border of Polokwane, but they work with traditional leaders. Every month, the traditional leaders have a community meeting. They got a slot as a branch there to talk about problems of TB. People must be able to take their medicine on a regular basis. And what you see is that that particular branch, and this is the case for all of the branches that won the awards, all of them have improved their election performance. One of the runner-ups is, I think it's Award 41 from Rustenburg. They went from 47% in the 2021 local government elections to 57%, against the trend nationally. So our point is that activist branches that are rooted in the community, that work with their councillors to regularly report to the community, that address the issues affecting the community, will have an impact about the trust that communities have in the ANC. And this is what we want all of our 4,000 branches to be.
But that scenario would be perfect if the councillor in that ward is an ANC councillor,
yeah,
and with a branch. So in a situation where you have the opposition as a councillor and the branch, how do you then reconcile the two?
Yeah, but even in those circumstances, the branch are members of communities. They can participate in the SGB. You don't have to be approval from the councillor to do that. They can participate in the clinic committees. They can participate in ward committees. So I think that even in areas where you have an opposition councillor, you do need activist branches to be able to take up the issues facing communities. And some of the things that our branches need to do is to look at what kind of projects do you need to do. We complain about issues of youth unemployment, but we don't form projects where you can employ young people, teach them entrepreneurship, and that they can be part of, a vibrant township economy and part of a vibrant rural economy. So part of when we talk about activist branches, it's not just only about what government can do, but also what projects can we do in the community to be able to advance the cause of our communities and build vibrant communities, safe communities, communities that really care for each other.
Now, one of the questions in your, during your presentation, and funny enough, there was a similar outcry on social media in terms of it, which is the issues of women in society. It looks like 30 years later, we're still, sidelining women. Women are still, marginalized and so forth. What's your opinion on that?
I mean, the system of patriarchy, which basically is the root causes of the second-class position of women and girls, is centuries old. I mean, the story of Adam and Eve. Go back way, way, way back. So in a sense, we have 30 years where we began to lay the foundation. So firstly, our constitutions say that we want to build a non-sexist South Africa in addition to a non-racial South Africa. So it means that our laws must make provision for that. So affirmative action, don't just talk about affirmative action in terms of race. It also talks about affirmative action in relation to gender. Similarly, the ANC constitution say that no structured delegation of the ANC can have less than 50% of women. So I think that over the last 50 years, we have addressed one element of dealing with patriarchy, which is representation. It's getting better. It's not 50% yet, but it's getting better. But part of what we need to do now is to look at how do you translate representation into real changes in the lives of ordinary women. So if we don't have water in a community, who have the responsibility to get the water? It's the women. So the men wake up and they want to wash, they want their coffee or tea. And the women have to look after that. So it has an impact on women. And so what we need to do when we say that in our January 8th statement that we must fix local government, we must fix the issues around water, sanitation and energy, it is about also improving the conditions in the lot of women. So yes, we're not there yet, but this is it's a system that has very deep roots in it impact on every aspect of our society, of our institutions, and therefore we need to be resolute to make sure that we raise the issues of women, but also give men the understanding that in the same way that the end of apartheid are in the interest of white people, in the same way the end of patriarchy are in the interest of men as well.
Now, you've mentioned the, for me, two most important focuses of the ANC, which is the 70th anniversary of the Freedom Charter and, most importantly, the local government elections next year. How do we reconcile the two? Because the Freedom Charter is quite clear in its what is expected of us and where we need to go. And you just said now we need to fix local government and we're heading towards elections. How do we then gel the two?
Okay. Let me start with the Freedom Charter. Amongst the things that we're asking all our branches to do is to look at the clauses of the Freedom Charter and assess in your community. So, for example, there shall be houses, security and comfort. What has happened over the last 30 years? What was our community like in 1994 and where are we now 30 years later? And what do we need to do in the next 15 years? In the Local Government Commission, I said yesterday that our ANC councillors need to do introduction to town planning. We need to do finance for non-financial managers. We need to understand local economic development. Because in addition to solving the problems of today, the issues around water, around sanitation, we also need to have a vision. for our townships, for our towns and areas, so that we must be able to say that over the next 20 years, what do we want Galeshewe to look like? We don't want it to be the same as it is today. So what do we need to do in terms of industrial areas? What do we want to do in terms of the retail sector in the township? What do we want to do? We, for example, may want to have a TVET college there, if you don't have one. So that in a sense, our vision for local government must solve the problems of today, but we must also have a vision to be able to say that this is where we want our townships to be. I always use the example, there's a small town in one of our provinces. Over the last 10, 15 years, we've moved, correctly so, about the district's offices of or built about 5 different provincial departments there. You know, there's education and transport and correctional services and social development. Very good. You're bringing government services closer to the people. But all of them we build in the old town. We don't build a government precinct in the township. So what you're doing is that you are again developing the same space that used to be developed. And that goes with the entire value chain. So people that work in those government offices look for places to rent. Where do they rent? Not in the township, they rent close by to work. Where do they have their lunch and their coffee? In the town. So in a sense, we have to change our orientation about how do we see the developments of our towns, and local government has a critical role to play. So we must solve the problems of today, but we also need to look at local economic development that has a vision for the future, that looks at industrialization, but that also look at how do you crowd in education development. I mean, the changes in Kimberley that you see today, that's in part also to do with the fact that you have a university.
Yes.
The towns that have educational institutions, universities, they have a certain vibrancy. How do we make sure that our townships contribute towards that vibrancy of how we develop our town? And our town planning has to change.
Now,
let me talk about the Freedom Charter briefly.
Yes.
So as I say, we celebrating 70 years of the Freedom Charter, and if one look at for example the last clause of the Freedom Charter, there shall be peace and friendship. You know, people often say that why does South Africa have an opinion on Ukraine? Why did our president go to Ukraine? It is based on the Freedom Charter that says there shall be peace and friendship, and therefore we've been arguing for the last 30 years for peaceful resolution to conflicts. At the end of the day, you're not going to kill off the other side. You have to come to the negotiating table and find a peaceful resolution. So that has been an approach, and that is deeply rooted in the Freedom Charter. The Freedom Charter informs our Constitution. Our Constitution in its preamble and every single clause talk about redress. So that when we talk about the Expropriation Amendment Act, when we talk about Bella, when we talk about the NHI and its redistribution impact, it's deeply rooted in our Constitution. And that is what the Freedom Charter is about. And when we therefore reflect on 70 years of the Freedom Charter, is to be able to say, are we on track? What do we need to do better? And the question about local government and changing the geospatial patterns of apartheid and the economy is a critical part of it.
Well, mouthful, I must say. Very, very insightful. So I think our communities and even our councillors have a clear mind now on where, between now and the elections, what we need to do, particularly our branches as leaders of society. But let me thank you so much for coming through and giving us this insightful information. And I've actually definitely learned a lot from you from sitting here. Thank you so much, Comrade Phoebe, for being here.
Thank you very much, and it's really great to be in the Northern Cape.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And here we go. That is Comrade Phoebe, who's been talking to us and answering some few important questions. And as we know that we are heading towards the local government elections next year, there's still a lot to do. As you've heard, we need to be looking at a certain directions, doing things differently. You know that if you do the same thing and get the same results and you repeat that, you'll always get the same results. So it's now time to get more connected with our communities, to be activist branches in our communities so that we understand and are able to respond and help our communities better. I'm Malik Kau, and this is ANC NCTV right here at Mitas Perepere Convention Center. Stay tuned to this platform for more content and more streaming on what's happening inside the conference center in terms of the 10th Conference of the African National Congress in the Northern Cape. It is our last day, and day 3, we'll be sure to give you more and more information. Hi, and welcome once again to Mitas Perepere Convention Center, where the African National Congress in the Northern Cape is hosting its 10th conference in the province. We're in Kimberley, and of course, this is day 3 of the conference. I'm out at the foyer of Mitas Perepere Convention Center. As you all know by now, I'm Malik Kau, the man with the Midas touch, and I'm standing here with Comrade Thandi. Comrade Thandi, hi, and welcome.
Good afternoon, and thank you for having me.
Now, as the NEC deployee to the Northern Cape, what is, in your view, what is the immediate tasks that the newly elected PEC members have ahead of them?
First of all, I think I must be able to try and paint a picture of what we have in the PEC before I could get to the expectations, which is this conference has produced a balanced leadership. Though balanced, there's a lot of energy, combination of young people, current leaders of the Youth League and former leaders of the Youth League. It's a PEC that is fairly young. And the first task would be to advance the struggles of young people, advance the national democratic revolution, but more so to ensure that we recover the lost ground with all the energies which they have. We have not won the elections, the general elections. In these local government elections, we are expecting that we'll be running side by side with them and ensuring that the ANC wins the local government elections with all the energy and the strength that they have. It's a PEC that has all the regions. For the first time after a very long time, we had a conference which was not highly contested. It's a display of unity, and we believe that unity in action will take us far as the African National Congress, 5 officials elected unopposed. It's a picture of branches of the ANC that are highly united, because if you have a united ANC, everything is possible. So we are expecting them to implement the resolutions of this conference that will be tabled as we are concluding, and also resolutions of the National Conference of the African National Congress.
Now, you took off the local government elections next year, which is, this conference happens basically on the eve of that conference, and talking about making sure that the PEC, that, we win the local government elections. What is it that we can take home, particularly from branches, as they are the closest to our communities, in terms of the ANC in the Northern Cape to win the local government elections?
Service delivery is the cornerstone of any success in society. The ANC is a leader of society, is duty-bound to ensure that the people of this province are served. You had a couple of by-elections in the province, and those by-elections which you had in the province, it's some kind of a barometer that is defining whether we are ready for elections or we're not ready. There's a by-election in Namakwa coming. We'll be there working with the PEC, do the structures of the ANC. Now these by-elections already they demand our energy and our efforts and our focus with the determination to win. But if we are not serving the people at the level of the municipalities, we won't be able to achieve this. You would agree with me when I say councillors of the ANC, particularly ward councillors of the ANC, they are a frontline detachment of the ANC at the level of the local municipalities in ensuring that people get better life, people are served, basic services and so on. We need to address those things. And it came out very clear also the issue of the unity of the ANC. As we are busy now with the reports from the commissions, people are talking about issues of crime, the district development model and the importance of that, because it enables the province to interface with national government, because some ministers and deputy ministers, they are deployed by the president in different municipalities, different provinces, to be district development models champions in ensuring that people are served, no potholes, water, electricity, and so on. People are getting those. So in this meeting, with the commitment that is displayed by the branches of the ANC from all 5 regions, we'll be able to achieve this.
Looking at the results of the elections last year, which many are labeling them as a disconnect of the ANC from its community, how do we then, lack of better words, reconnect with our communities, particularly branches?
Look, I'm not sure about what people are saying, but all I can say factually is that the ANC went out to conduct its own research. And there's been independent researches. And the researches are highlighting in the main that the ANC has lost ground because of disunity and infightings amongst the ANC members. People did not go and vote. They sat at home. So that is not a rejection by society. Perhaps society is trying to tell us something, that the sooner you unite, the sooner you realize that this ANC belongs to us. This ANC belongs to the continent. That's why it's African National Congress. We are going to rise and go and vote for you. This is a great start. Less contestations. They enable us to realize that unity is the only thing that we have for us to be able to regain the lost ground. Because there's no people that rejected the ANC. Some people went and formed their own party. But the bulk of South Africans sat at home and they did not go and vote because they believe that if the ANC is not what they want to see it to be or what it was before in terms of the infightings and so on, let's sit at home, let's not go and vote. Now, we have a responsibility as the ANC to reach out to those people, to say that here we are, we've had you punished us, and the punishment is very severe. Let's reconnect. We are uniting as ANC. We've seen the traits of unity emerging, for instance, in the Northern Cape Conference, hoping that all conferences of the ANC will display unity in action like we've seen it here, then we will be able to gain the lost ground.
As this conference comes to a close, what would be your last message to the masses of the Northern Cape?
My last, not last, because I'm deployed here, remember, I'm your citizen now, so I'll be part of you. Today is not our last day here. It's a culmination of all the responsibilities that the National Executive Committee of the ANC gave us in ensuring that we oversee, we provide leadership, we strengthen the work of the province of the ANC. Just want to say to the people of the Northern Cape that the ANC is here to serve them. This young, energetic Provincial Executive Committee will serve the people alongside with the public representatives of the ANC, visibility of the African National Congress. As we are discussing here, we are also talking about the safer schools, because we see all these criminal activities that happens in schools, and in the main it's children that are perpetrators of these crimes that happens. So we're saying that we want safer schools. We are going to ensure that we persuade government in ensuring that this province is also another economic hub of the country because of all the endowments that the province possesses. Now we're saying that we've had them, we will come down. I know there were activities yesterday where people were not happy about the issue of housing. The MEC has addressed that yesterday. We'll come back and interface with the people. And the commitment for me, which has been made by not only branches of the ANC, but also the Provincial Executive Committee, through a declaration, for sure they will be making some undertakings and commitments that will benefit the people of the Northern Cape. Just want to say, stronger and united, there is nothing that we cannot achieve. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. There was Comrade Tandi there talking about the tasks that the PEC has ahead of them, and one of them is concentrating on the most important agenda and the most important event of the ANC calendar in next year's local government elections, to make sure that we are on the ground and local municipalities are doing what they are supposed to be doing in terms of service delivery and becoming a united front as the African National Congress, so that you can go out there next year, local government elections, and vote for the African National Congress. I'm Malik Kau. Goodbye.